I would like to now request Professor Reddy. Sir has been involved with the institute from shaping it before it started, and then since it started, steering the directions as the chairman of the board. And I don't think he needs any introduction. Phenomenal kind of track record as an academician, as a researcher, as an academic leader. Won Turing Award in 1994, and till date, there are only 3 people of Indian origin that have won Turing Award. And Sir was the first one to win, and since then, many, many awards. And so we're very happy that he has guided us all these years. And Sir, your words, sir, please.
I'm still able to walk around. So I want to share with you the environment in which this institution was given birth to, and then a few key events during the last 25 years, and what it might be in the next 25 years. So I'll try to keep it very short, but you need to go back and look at the environment that was there in the 1990s. The World Wide Web was just invented. It came out of the internet and came out of CERN. And I had the fortune to be visiting in a Silicon Valley company, startup company called Enterprise Integration Technologies. And there is this young man, he was showing off, the browser and showing how it not only you could access information, text, but it could also be multimedia access of different things. This was in 1994. And I said thank you, and went back to talking to the founder, Marty Tannenbaum. And it turned out the guy that was showing it to me is Mark Andreessen. And Mark then joined Netscape and Jim Clark. And within 1 year of starting the company, they went public. And the stock shot through the roof, and they had no income, zero income. And the phrase that was used was irrational exuberance. Everybody thought, somehow, and it paid off. It paid off. And we happened to have a leader in Hyderabad at that time who was visiting Davos, and I would meet him there, and he would ask, what should we do? I said, you need to be bold and do some exciting initiatives. And what are they? I said, I don't know, but perhaps you could start out by starting some educational institution to train the manpower that will be needed. This was in 1997 or so. Little did I know, Chandrababu Naidu had this very interesting characteristic. He would kind of consult with a lot of people, ask their advice, and then do whatever he thinks is what he wants to do. And the first thing he did was, when Bill Gates was visiting here, he said, why don't you come to Hyderabad and kind of let me show you around of what we're trying to do. And so he had a vision of somehow making Hyderabad and Andhra Pradesh the IT capital of the India and if not the world. And the way he did it was to identify 2 very important people inside the government, Mr. Chandrasekhar and Mr. Ajay Sahani ji, who is here, and said, you create this institution, IIIT. And he didn't know how to do it, but he thought, and they were very smart, obviously, and came up with an amazing model which has stood us in good stead today and will continue to do so for the next 100 years. And the first thing they did was they got hold of Srini, Dr. Srini Raju, and Devang Mehta and said, why don't you start a society, non-profit society, and that will create the institute. And so anyway, the three key people for whose gleam in the eye are Ajay Sahani ji and Chandrasekhar ji and Chandrababu Naidu ji. So those three were the cause for this institution to be around. And what they did was very interesting. They had this 64-acre land, and they couldn't just give it away because there'll be all kinds of hue and cry. So they leased it to this institution for 1 rupee per year. So Chief Minister called me and said, "We want you to come and run the institution, become the president." I said, "There's no way I can do it. I've got too many irons in the fire." So I agreed to be the chairman at that time. And so it has been a grand adventure since then. I'd like to share with you 3 or 4 very interesting things that happened during this period, which I think are amazing. The first one was the educational model. And the idea that it should be, even undergraduates should be doing research and not just taking courses. Courses is what is called received wisdom. Somebody else has discovered something, and they just tell it to you, and you imbibe it, and that's it. You have to discover. The thrill of discovering new things is what research is about. As we say, there is some truth there. Research is research the truth, whatever that might be, starting with problems. Another definition of research is learning without a teacher. All our education, somebody comes in the class, tells you something and make you mug it up and write it down in the exam, and that's it. They're not making you to think, to use your brain cells to saying, how would I solve this problem? And so research is learning without a teacher, where you are given a problem to solve, and you have to somehow figure out, learn all the things you have to learn from anywhere in the world, and then solve that problem. So we had, a number of discussions, and I think we are well on the way to implementing, a research-led undergraduate program, probably one of the first ones or unique ones here. So now I'd like to kind of say 2 or 3 important things that happened after that. One is we had 3 great directors of the institution. Narendra Ahuja, who's only here for a short while, but he helped to kind of recruit the original key faculty members, including, I think, Dr. P.J.N. and Rajiv Sangal, who was already here as part of Satyam, I think. Satyam, school, and we, kind of adopted him and moved him over. And Dr. P.J. Narayan. So the 3 of them have been very central to the growth of this institution. The third thing that happened, which I think is very important, is when the new government came in, CRS, K.T. Ramarao, the first thing he said was, I need an innovation hub. I want a T hub. I need it immediately. And so there was a concrete structure which was not unfinished here, right here on this side, I think. And they spent $25 million or some large amount of money building it. And then he had the key idea of identifying 2 people, Dr. Mohan Reddy as the chairman, and Ramesh, where is Ramesh? Yes, as the executive director, to make it happen. So I think we've been successful in doing new things in new ways. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? I think we should not stop. Everything, there is used to be a saying called, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The slogan that was adopted during the IT revolution is, if it ain't broke, fix it. No matter what you're doing, it can be done better. The question is, how do you figure out what to do? There are two activities we are involved in, education and research. How can we do better education? There are already many models around, and in fact, the National Education Policy tried to move towards that direction. It's a good policy, but it can be much better. One of the things is what we call learning by doing or project-oriented education. Everything you do should be learned by doing a project, not by reading some text and repeating it. And so the learning by doing and learning, the project-oriented learning is kind of central to the future of learning. And one model that has worked is, if a student is studying half the time and actually working half the time, it's called the Waterloo model, where Waterloo people, most others go 2 semesters into college, and in the summer they goof off or do some internship or something, and the people, and so the internship model is there, except it is not continuous, it is not something that you build on one. What Waterloo model says is, as soon as you join, you're studying half the time, but you're also working in a company which is paying your salary for half time, and you're doing, agreed upon project-oriented work, not just some mindless administration or something. And that kind of a model, what happens at Waterloo model is, the students are working for the same company for whole 4 years, maybe even 6 years, because, and at the same time they're learning. In those days, there was no easy way of doing distance learning or online learning. Now we are much better off, so we are able to do much better. So what we can do in the future, and in Hyderabad, we are lucky to have so many great companies. If we were to kind of adopt the model of Waterloo model of half-time work and half-time study, and there's a lot more detail I can go into, but we don't have the time. I think, and that could revolutionize the way learning is done in the future. And the key thing to stress is learning by doing. Everything, you start with a problem, you're not told, spoon-fed, of what to do or how the solution happened, and then you have to discover the solution. The thrill of discovery, that's the great thing about programming. When the first time a program runs and there's a bug and you fix it and it works, you're so thrilled at the whole thing. So that is about education. What's the future of education? I think one possibility we could look at is Waterloo model. And more importantly, learning by doing and kind of insisting. There are many number of ways of doing it. One is, if we are fortunate in Hyderabad, we have all these companies and it can be 50-50. But even if you're not, you can kind of go to school for 1 year, work for 1 year. But it's the same, you're working for the same company. When you're going to school, you're still doing 10 hours a week or 20 hours a week online with them. They're giving you some work. When you're going to work for a year, you're taking some courses online. And it can be done. There are so many ways of implementing it. So now we come to research. What should we be doing in research? There are so many options and opportunities. I'll tell you my 2 pet projects today. We are on the cusp of being able to speak to anyone, anywhere, in any language. And it's called SSMT, speech-to-speech machine translation. And Google will translate on your smartphone 100 languages. but the current systems are not quite as good as they need to be, so that if I'm sitting with you in the same room and you're saying something in Hindi and I'm speaking something in Telugu, we should be able to have a normal conversation with no interruption, no nothing, no delays. That's almost on the horizon. Maybe 5 years, 10 years we'll have it. And I think some of you will actually design and build these systems. What we need is a smartphone, which you can put in your pocket with a microphone sticking out. It will listen to whatever you're saying and translate it, or recognize it, speech recognition, translate it, and then it'll transmit to you, to your smartphone, because we're sitting next to each other. And your system will translate it into Hindi, and then you can hear it in Hindi. It's all easy to talk about, but there are lots of engineering details. You can put, AirPods. It has to work, and they all have to and it has to work in real time. Right now, it's like, even if you use Google Translate, it's like 10, 20 times real time. That essentially spoils the whole conversation. It's like when Modi is in USA and he speaks in Hindi and somebody translates it. That whole dynamic is not as satisfactory. So I think we'll be there. The speech-to-speech machine translation will revolutionize Indian population communication capability. It doesn't have to be face-to-face. It can be on the phone also. I'm talking in Telugu and you're talking Gujarati, and there's seamless interaction. That's where we need to get to, and it can be done, and you are the guys to do it. And we can help. There are people at IIIT that have knowledge and expertise in this. The other one is equally interesting research opportunity, what I call guardian angels. A guardian angel is someone who gets you the right information at the right time, to the right people in the right language, at the right level of detail. Right information to the right people at the right time, in the right language, in the right level of detail. I'll give you an example in a minute. It's what we call AI Bill of Rights. We don't know how to do it, but it can be done. In order to do all these things, each of us have to have God-like qualities. Omniscient, omnipresent. We need to know everything that's going on everywhere else. It can be done. It can be instrumented. We were talking about a smart city. It's a small example of that, right? If a water main breaks or electricity breaks or something else is broken, you don't want to wait a day, don't even want to wait an hour. Within a minute you should know there's something wrong, and very quickly you should be able to. And that is the right information to the right people at the right time. And the right language is very complicated to do as a research problem, because we don't know what language you're speaking. And the best example I give is we had in 2004 an Indian Ocean tsunami where 300,000 people died when 100-foot waves came and crashed onto South Indian coast and Sri Lankan coast. Amazing. Nobody expected it, right? And there's a book called Wave of someone who was in Sri Lanka that essentially the whole water receded from the ocean. And you could see the ocean floor for miles. So everybody was very happy and something is happening. They didn't know very soon there was going to be a 100-foot wave. Not only, and they're so powerful, this is amazing. So the question is, could we have saved those 300,000 deaths? At this point, you can. You may not save all of them, but 80-90% of the deaths could be saved. That because we are soon becoming a population with smartphones. Everybody has a smartphone, or your neighbor has a smartphone, your father or brother has a smartphone. If you had a smartphone and it had this Guardian Angel app, which is kind of published, subscribed methodology of the web. So everybody that knows something publishes it. I don't want to publish everything I know. Okay. There are lots of things I want to keep private. But things that may be of general interest can be discovered and published. And if it is going to affect me because there's a tsunami or a tornado or something coming up, you can tell saying, hey, something is going to happen, you better get there. And so this kind of a system is implementable. It's what is called sometimes TIA, Total Information Awareness, Total Global Information Awareness. And it was actually started as a DARPA project, I think 2006 or 7. There was a big hue and cry because it's also, you're spying on everybody, and if it is being done by the government to total information awareness, and you have no privacy, no nothing, you don't. So these days we have a need for people that have COVID, and if you choose to share the information, it can be anonymized and shared from your guardian angel. And using that shared information, you can actually understand the national state and global state of COVID, right? And that's the whole idea. We can now create privacy-preserving guardian angels, which can both collect information, but it's yours. Right now, all your data belongs to somebody else, Google or Amazon or someone else. You don't own your data. In the future, we need to create an environment where everybody's data is their own, legally. And anyone else that takes it and keeps it should be punished, with fines and other things. If we create such an environment, then we can create a guardian angel technology, privacy-preserving guardian angels. I think that would have an enormous impact of getting the right information to the right people at the right time, in the right language, at the right level of detail. The detail is important. It turns out, if you're telling this fisherman on the South Indian coast, some big description of the tsunami and what's going to happen, they don't care. They don't. All you want to say is, hey, something bad is going to happen. You better get on, climb the tree or go to the next mountain, or the hill or something. Go away, because there's going to be 100 foot. So the detail of information. If you're going to a doctor, you don't want him to tell you in great detail what is wrong with you. You just want to know what medicine you should take and what injection you want to take, and go away. So the issue of right level of detail, these 5 rights have a huge research agenda. And it'll keep us busy for the next 100 years. And I think we should begin now, and we can, for our technique. Thank you very much.